I bring guys like you together and I wrangle as you go at it.
All right. So Dave Smith, libertarian and self-proclaimed bootlicker, far-right grifter, Tim Pool, went on Piers Morgan and had, I believe, a debate. Seems to be on ICE. So we're going to dive in, just react a little bit, watch some of this debate, see if we have any interesting or insightful moments. Curious to know what you guys think in the comments, as usual. Let me know. And here we go.
Bootgate. So welcome to Tim Pool and Dave Smith.
How's it going?
What's up, Piers? What's up, Tim?
Tim, are you still proudly acclaiming yourself to be the boot? Or have you had time to reflect?
No, I think the point of that comment was I had made a post on X where I said something to the effect of Freddie was conspiring with a group to obstruct federal law enforcement, did not show up to a protest. He showed up to an operation to obstruct federal law enforcement, resisted arrest. It was an unfortunate circumstance where the agents yell gun, gun, gun. One guy sees Freddie holding a phone in his hand. A gunshot goes off. I don't think anybody was going to that day. This is the gist of the argument. I don't think the agents were trying to murder someone that day. I don't think Freddie went there with the intention of murdering everybody. And by saying that, I have these people tweeting that I'm a bootlicker because I'm defending ICE because they went out and you've got a spattering of some libertarians that are arguing this is a peaceful protest or just filming. And many liberals making the same claim. And so my response is, I voted for ICE to go out and do this. I was promised in 2024 that Donald Trump was going to employ ICE, CBP. They were going to make these arrests. So it's not that I'm defending and licking their boot as they go out and do this. It's literally, it's me saying, gentlemen, please, would you go out and engage in these operations? Now, I'm not happy that Freddie died or these conflicts are happening. But
so he starts out, he says he is the bootlicker. Then he's not the bootlicker. Then he is, and now he's not again. So which one is it, Tim? Are you the bootlicker or are you not? I don't really know.
These are agents enacting the political will of me and many others who voted for it.
And I guess part of that is going out and terrorizing citizens and shooting them in the face and the back 10 times. That's great.
Dave Smith, your response.
Well, I would just first off say that Tim knows that I love him, and we did make up on Twitter there.
Can we not start with a mollifying comment like that,
Piers? Piers, you really are. Even in recovery, Piers is still just sparking fights. I love it. I'm glad to see. I'm so glad you're doing the show.
Joe Rogan, if I may say, in between, he had Andrew Wilson on a couple of days ago, and in between mocking me for my injury and suggesting I have a 10-year lifespan now as a result of having a new hip put in, and saying I was in no shape and that's why this happened to me. Notwithstanding that, he did say that I'm the best cat wrangler in the world, by which he meant I bring guys like you together and I wrangle as you go at it. And so starting from such a peaceful position doesn't appeal, Dave, to my cat wrangling skills.
Well, I second Joe and Andrew's opinion there. Not the 10 years part, the cat wrangling part. But if Tim wants to identify as a boot, I will respect his pronouns and I will try to be respectful here. I think look, what the Preddy shooting. Again, as we know, we've all been burned on things like this before. Sometimes there's information that isn't available, context that isn't available in the video. What we have in the video of him being shot looks about as bad as any shooting could look. He wasn't resisting arrest. He wasn't being violent in that moment. And it doesn't really matter what happened 11 days earlier. Like 8 officers have him on the ground, disarm him. Yes, one of them starts frantically yelling gun, and then they pump 9 bullets into a guy who's not a threat to anybody. So the shooting itself looks very bad. If you want to get into the details of that, the real question, which no one seems to be addressing, is what happened right before that warranted shoving a woman in that manner. If for any man to ever put his hands on a woman in that manner, you better have a damn good reason for doing it. And no one's offered one, but what the administration has done is had all of its top spokespeople lie through their teeth, including the head of the FBI claiming that it's illegal to bring a gun to a protest, and the head of the Department of Homeland Security claiming that he was there to assassinate a bunch of officers and do as much damage as possible. I think it was Stephen Miller who called him a domestic terrorist. This stuff stuff is absurd. And the broader picture that I think everyone's missing here is that ICE and Border Patrol are not doing what Tim voted for them to do. Mass deportations are not happening. Donald Trump walked away from mass deportations over a year ago when he said they won't be deporting people from hospitality and farming. Translation, in other words, big business likes the cheap labor, and they don't want those people deported, and Donald Trump backed off, as he has done basically throughout his entire 5 years of being president, sold out the American people on behalf of big business. And, you know,
no, I mean, look, that whole idea of this policy is fucking stupid. Number one, not entirely stupid. I don't want to be totally flippant about this, but I mean, if you're going to be Dave Smith and Tim Pool and complain that Trump didn't go in and deport all of the hospitality and restaurant and farm workers in the country, they tried that experiment in Alabama, I believe, some years ago, and the state economy started to collapse, and they had to reverse course and try it again, because you cannot sell out the bottom of the economic support, even if it comes in through migration. Those are jobs, again, it's been said over and over, that Americans don't want to do, that Americans refuse to do, have refused to do since the beginning, since people showed up in fucking Jamestown in like 1492 or whatever. It's just not something that the Americans or the locals or whoever want to do those jobs. They come in through migration. It's shitty, low-wage jobs. Big business likes it. People that come from, you know, that are migrating, see it as an opportunity at the very least. Some people get screwed completely, and they end up getting taken advantage of. And it's a broken immigration system that I would reform. But just to say that the solution is this cruel and inhumane, like let's round up all these people and send them back to a country that they have no business being in anymore after they've established themselves and they are now supporting the foundation of this economy. It's just like, it's so fucking stupid. I can't even wrap my head around how people, cheerlead for that. But anyway, that's where we are. So
this stuff in Minnesota, this is all theater. There's like maybe 200,000 illegals in all of Minnesota. They sent 3,000 agents into Minneapolis. We're not getting huge numbers of people here. And instead what you're getting left-wing activists who are looking for a fight. And then Piers, I'm sure you've seen, Tim, I'm sure you've seen, which in a lot of videos, ICE and Border Patrol agents who are also looking for a fight, who are going around intimidating regular people, lying to them about what their constitutional rights are. I've seen dozens of videos where these ICE agents are telling people that it's illegal to film, threatening to put regular people on a list of domestic terrorists. Their faces are covered. They're not identifying themselves. They're grabbing people at random Walmarts and dropping them off 8 miles away. This is all we're getting out of this is a bunch of violence and a massive provocation of the worst elements of the left-wing activists. It's a huge loss for all of us.
Yeah. And Tim, you know, what I think is so sort of weird about this is that there's not a lot of difference between Donald Trump's view of the immigration issue and Barack Obama's. And there are plenty of clips doing the rounds at the moment of Barack Obama talking like Donald Trump about immigration, right? Obama, as we now know, deported over 3 million people, but he didn't get anything like the attention that Trump's deportation record is getting. And as Dave just said, he's not deporting anything like the same numbers. I don't understand, having had a thumping win on the southern border, Donald Trump, pretty much shutting it down after the ridiculous farce of 4 years of Biden just opening it up. Having got that big win, why he didn't just do what Obama did a lot of the time, which is he went to the governors of individual states and he said, right, how many illegal immigrants do you have in prisons who've committed other crimes? We're going to deport them all. And that's apparently a large number of the people that he deported were those types of people. Most Americans would agree with that. If Trump just did a deal with every individual state governor to deport undocumented people in prison for other crimes, I think most Americans would agree with that. So why is he allowed himself, I think, by people in his administration like Stephen Miller and others, to be sucked into a much wider, much more problematic program of masked ICE agents running around like a bunch of fascists, as many people have called them, you know, just bashing doors down, running into Home Depot, seizing anyone who might be there undocumented. That's a far more complex thing and far less popular.
There's a lot to break down just with what David said and now what you have said. And I'll start here with you mentioning the masks. I had heavily criticized the DHS and the Trump administration going back to the election, saying that we should not live in a country where our law enforcement are masking up and we can't see their faces. We don't want to live in a country like that. The argument I got largely from Trump supporters is that, well, they're threatened by domestic terrorists. They'll come to their homes. They'll kill their family. And my response is, guys, if we are actually at the point where you genuinely believe leftists are going to show up to the homes of ICE agents and murder their families, then the problem of immigration is much smaller, right? We're in civil war at this point. And there are some arguments that we have seen in Minnesota. They went to the homes of suspected federal agents. They smashed vehicles. They stole weapons. So all of those things are pushing us to this point where the hardcore Trump side is never going to give up on, you know what, we're fighting a demonic force or whatever. We're going to mask up and do these things. I think that's a dangerous prospect. I will say then, to your point about Trump cutting deals with the governors, I believe that was actually the point of contention with Minnesota. In many of these other states, Trump just cut a deal with these governors. And I believe the reason for the initial deployment was a combination into Minnesota was a combination of the Somali fraud story being massive. Trump probably wanted to win. Stephen Miller probably wanted to win some kind of show of force, but also that
I think they just wanted to fuck with Tim Walz at the end of the day. I think they've had a bone to pick with him ever since like the weird comments and ever since he almost sort of tipped the scales in the election way back then. I think they just see him as a target, someone they want to fuck with, and it's worked. And you know, Tim Walz, much to his discredit, has been a complete major pussy and has basically embodied like the weak Democrat, like the soft Democrat paradigm, and just sort of rolled over and showed his belly and just like allowed all this chaos to unfold and not stood up for his people. So they've really, it's worked in that effect. If you want to talk about damaging, a pillar of, the upper ranks of Democrat or Democratic echelon, then I think they've succeeded.
Minnesota was not cooperating in the same way. So the supposed drawdown, which I don't know we're actually getting, where he brings out Bovino, he reassigns Kristi Noem, was predicated upon, okay, Tim Walz called me on the phone and we're going to try and work out a deal. Homan said, just give us the criminals from the jails and then we can be done with this. So what I will then say to all of Dave's point is 90% agree. I said Trump needs to stand down or suit up. These half measures are ridiculous. You're getting these videos of ICE agents falling for leftist agitprop, making these perfect PSAs to make Trump look bad. And quite honestly, DHS is looking bad when, as Dave pointed out, these guys are saying, I'm going to put you on a domestic terror watch list. I watched one video where a guy was filming an immigration stop from his porch, and an ICE agent, or it might have been CBP, walks up down to his porch to stop him from filming. I mean, these go way over the line. So yes, Trump needs to. He needed to either just stop the protests, cut a big deal, or Insurrection Act, none of this stupid stuff, or just back off. And I think either play works. I think the backing off wholly would be good. My proposal to Trump actually was very, very simple.
So his Tim Pool and his genius, his plans are either back off, let's pull it all back and reel it all the way back, or let's go all the way to Insurrection Act, military in the street, crack down on the protesters, potentially or probably lead to even more innocent people getting killed. So it's either like full fascism, Armageddon, and illegal like destruction, or let's pull it back. Like, what kind of analysis is this? This is like so childish. It's ridiculous.
Not literally to Trump, but just in general. And that's visit Minneapolis, visit the Twin Cities. No Insurrection Act, no DHS, no military. Just literally say, I'm going to come down, have a meeting with the mayor and the governor. And what that would do is it would de facto lock down these violent protests that we're seeing, these riots. It would stop these occupations that we're seeing. We're seeing checkpoints. How? Because then you get a natural security presence. And Trump doesn't have to say, I'm putting the boot down. All he has to say is, I want to talk to the governor about how we tone things down. He hasn't done that. And I also want to throw heavy criticism towards this argument that Preddy was trying to massacre people was ridiculous. I think what we saw with the Preddy situation, where I disagree with Dave, is he is clearly resisting arrest. Doesn't mean he deserves to die. It doesn't mean the agents were good. I don't think the agents were like, let's kill a guy. I think it's a crowd of people, largely the agents.
He's clearly not resisting arrest. First of all, and if you watch the close-up video from the woman in the pink dress, you clearly see There's a woman that gets pepper sprayed, and then Preddy goes in. He puts his hands up to like go in and like shield her and pick her up. And as he's like trying to shield her, he gets tackled and they're bringing him to the ground. And my only assumption is that as you're getting tackled and brought to the ground, your immediate instinct is to try to get up onto your feet, right? Your immediate instinct, because if you're on the ground, your chest is getting compressed, you're not able to breathe as well. That induces a sense of panic, right? And so you have 6 or 7 people piling onto you. You're into survival mode. You're trying to at least stabilize yourself or stand up, and you're going to interpret that or just jump to, oh, he was resisting arrest and he was this like violent resistor or whatever. It's like, that's a guy that's in survival mode. All right, so again, that's another smear of it, small or whatever as it might be. It's a smear.
Overreacting. I imagine it's due to being, I think the report was 50 people had been stalking them and obstructing them that day. Preddy was just being one of them, and these guys are on edge. Now, I've made the argument DHS, law enforcement need to be beyond above board because of the scrutiny they're going to face. I've argued they should be wearing polo shirts and khakis. They shouldn't be going out with masks and armor, because the most important thing is the American people know that we're doing this lawfully and by the book. I think these guys went out there after this ongoing campaign where, if you watch the videos even from today, you've got these leftists masked up. You can't see any part of their faces, and they're pulling vehicles over, demanding their paper, saying, show me your IDs and prove to me you are who you are. Jorge Ventura's got a video where they walk up to a Somali driver and then ask him to confirm he's not ICE because he's in a database. So certainly I can criticize Trump, but the things these people are doing on the ground is insane. So I can imagine.
It's insane. It's totally so insane to, you're being invaded by a federal force that shouldn't be there in the first place. It's so insane to want to know who they are. It's so insane to ask what their badge numbers are. It's so insane to ask what their identity is and to figure out who, like, what the fuck are you talking about? These are the people that say that they are like the don't tread on me, America first, like small government libertarian, is like, and then all of a sudden a federal government military force with masks and vehicles is driving through your streets, invading you, and the people are not allowed to find out who they are, to protest them, to stand up to them. Like, think about how like twisted and sick and backwards these people's perspectives and their propaganda has gotten. It's just the cult at the end of the day. We know what it is. So I guess it makes sense.
At CBP agents, hot on edge, terror attacks against ICE and CBP last year.
The poor groups, of 50 or whatever, 60 or 100 armed agents that have armed trucks and, gear and masks and pepper spray and bullets and everything. Those poor tortured souls. They're being harassed by these hippies in Minneapolis that they won't leave them alone. They're on edge with their guns and their rockets and their, armored vehicles. Where there's these poor tortured souls. We have to treat them nicely.
People are being killed, or at least they're trying to kill, and they're overreacting. That is their responsibility. I'm not going to cut them any slack for overreacting, just to point out that they are. And the circumstance around Preddy's death was unfortunate, should have happened. I look at this from what ingredients have you thrown to the pot? You've got leftists organizing, creating databases.
Oh, of course. It's the leftists first. Good. And it's not the, $100 billion that you just sent to this, pseudo military force that hasn't had a lick of training. And it's just a bunch of like white nationalist Proud Boys in masks in the street. That's not the number one. It's the leftists. It's the organized leftists.
What ingredients have you thrown to the pot? You've got leftists organizing, creating databases, going on shift.
It's the leftist database. It's not the ICE databases that they're going around filming people and putting them into a database just for protesting or just for filming them. No. It's always the leftists first.
Pot. You've got leftists organizing, creating databases, going on shift. Preddy was on a shift. He was on duty. They have a list of people. You are assigned a duty. He went out there with the intention of obstructing, and conspiracy to obstruct are felonies. Again, not saying it justifies him being killed or anything like that. The agents are on edge.
Conspiracy to obstruct is a felony. What about protesting? What about the First Amendment? Think about the lines that are being blurred and crossed here. No, he wasn't protesting. He wasn't a legal protester demonstrating his First Amendment rights. This was conspiracy. This was a high crime. Think about that.
Everybody's boiling over, and when you put all these ingredients into a pot, you show up with the SIG to obstruct police. When they shove you and push you and then try to arrest you, you resist. And I'm not saying he was resisting like punching cops, but is clearly not submitting, laying down, and putting his hands behind his back. You know what? I hate to say it, but it sounds like there was a defective SIG discharge, which resulted in them freaking out and shooting him.
Again, we don't know that for sure.
Well, we don't know that yet. And what we do know is that one of the agents took away the guy's gun. You can see that before they start shooting. So the whole thing was a complete fiasco.
And he's
but we've had the benefit of watching it. Obviously,
exactly. So a shot is fired. Prey's got a black object in his hand, and the other agents, after the shooting, yell, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun?" They just don't know.
It may be. Look, I think we have to wait for that because apparently this particular type of gun has got a track record of sometimes doing that. Let's wait and see. Others say there's been no suggestion it fired at all, but we'll see. I broadly agree with a lot of what you just said. Dave, one of the problems with this is because of these two back-to-back incidents involving ICE, a lot of ICE hatred is built up now, fermented as very predictably by the celebrity world, by Hollywood. We saw the Grammy Awards, everybody queuing up to pound ICE. But you also see people like Billie Eilish, who's a fantastic talent. I absolutely love her as a performer. But she says this.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Gasping.
And
I'm kidding, by the way.
Yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter.
I mean, before look, the nobody's illegal on stolen land thing is kind of fucking stupid at this point. I mean, we have to have a precedent or I don't even know if precedent's the right word, but we got to look forward, or, it's tough to look back like 600 years and use that as precedent for something that's going on in the current moment with, vis-a-vis, illegal immigration. So, is the land here stolen from the natives? Yeah. But is every corner of the earth, stolen from somewhere else if you go back far enough? Yeah, I mean, so that's a weird thing to say, but anyway, I get the point.
Now, the problem with that is obviously she's got a lovely home in California, so what she's now given is anyone who wants to go in and inveigle their way into her home a license to do it, because her own home is on illegal land, right? So once you take the premise that all of this land was illegally acquired, then there's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. Then you're back to the Biden era on steroids, where 20 million, 30 million, 40 million can come in because actually none of this is illegal. And when you've got a major pop star saying that, to me, that's really problematic. That will fly around TikTok. It will fly around where young people get their news. And before you know it, this becomes the agreed young perception of this whole issue, when in fact, that is not the reality.
I think that's just another thing people say. I don't think that's going to gain a significant amount of traction, or it's just, I don't know. I don't think so, Piers.
Of the illegal immigration problem.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, look, she's a child, right? I mean, I don't know. How old is she? It's ridiculous what she's saying. I think that kind of look, if you take this like from a year ago to today, one of the things that was really amazing about the Biden administration was that it moved Americans further to the right on immigration than would have been previously imaginable. And a big part of this is because we had just never had such an influx of people come in such a short period of time, just millions and millions. And no one even knows exactly. They estimate around 10 million came in, but we don't really know. Most of that is going off of how many border apprehensions there were, and then trying to figure out, well, if they got this many, how many might have come in? But so Donald Trump inherited a society when he became president for the second time where mass deportations had support of a super majority of the American people. And of course, that's reasonable because most Americans are like, yeah, you broke the law. That's not okay. We're a nation of laws. The thing is that we also still have the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land. So Donald Trump was always in a tricky spot here of how do you the estimates of total illegal immigration is like between 30 and 50 million. Well, how do you remove 30 to 50 million people? We only have like 20,000 Border Patrol agents in total. So, okay, how do you go about doing that? And it was always, I was talking about this on my show last year. It was always a big question of like, okay, the American people support mass deportations in the abstract, but what will they really support in order to achieve that goal? What level of violence are you going to need? And so the last thing in the world you want, if you're on the side of being an immigration restrictionist, is a huge show of violence that's going to turn a lot of people off that doesn't even result in a large number of illegals being deported. So like, I think on any level, there's like no debate here. What are we talking about? If we, just to be clear, if we got every single illegal alien out of Minnesota, you wouldn't even make a dent in 1 year of Joe Biden's open border. So there's just, the juice isn't worth the squeeze here. And
exactly, it's not worth it. And the problem is the policy, or at least Donald Trump's version of the policy, is cruelty for cruelty's sake. And that's the way it's been unraveling and unfolding. If there's nothing delicate about it, there's nothing artful about it or just, again, if you really wanted to solve this problem, you would do it on a, if you even want to consider it a problem, which, I could grant that it is to some extent. But a lot of the problem has to do with allowing or providing the right environment, the right economic circumstances, path to citizenship, the right amount of judges, sort of an organized single file line towards that process, enough job opportunities on the other end, which we probably don't have. And that's an AI problem on the other end and an employer issue as well with regards to automation. And, the preference for AI work rather than, actual human labor. So there's a lot of things going on here. And to just like we're discussing here, to just say we're going to violently round up, deploy troops to the street and violently round up and deport as many people as we can. It's obviously not the solution. It is just barbarism. And again, the point seemingly to be so is just to cause like sort of the shock and awe and the chaos and things like that. To what end, we can speculate on that as well. But it's just an absolute disaster in every single way.
What you're doing essentially is you're handing a giant talking point to all those people in that ridiculous event last night to sit around where they're all worth $50 million and they're in a $50,000 dress and $10,000 shoes, but they talk about the struggles of, this is their own weird psychological projection of not being able to deal with the fact that they're very, very privileged. But again, you're just handing them a talking point. What about that? What's in it for us?
Well, we also
nothing. Right.
And we also saw, Tim Pool, the lionization over the weekend at the Grammys and the parties around the Grammys of Don Lemon.
All right. Well, we'll cut it out there. We'll leave it just at that. Not really going to get into Don Lemon right now. But I'm not really a fan of the Grammy grandstanding either. I didn't even watch the Grammys. I don't have TV. So what are you going to do? But there you have it. Look, I mean, a pretty civil debate between two people who ostensibly I thought were hating each other. You have the boot on one end, Dave Smith, the libertarian, on the other. I can't even say it was a reasonable discussion because I think they're both terribly misguided and wrong on the issue at large. And, just a lot of bad ideas kind of going back and forth there. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know about that in the comments. Happy to hear from you. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.